There was an amazing graphic going around on social media today, and I loved it so much that I knew I had to do a video on it. But it was a picture of a huge ladder with really wide gaps between the rungs, and then a picture next to it of a ladder with really small gaps between the rungs. And it essentially showed that when you're moving towards a big goal or a big dream or a big vision, that even those small, seemingly meaningless steps create massive, massive results. I think we're all led to believe at one point or another that if it isn't an overnight success or if it isn't a massive leap, that it doesn't matter. But the truth is, even those small bite-sized steps can create huge leaps if you're committed to it. And so today, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about the power of those small steps that seem insignificant that are actually more powerful than you're giving credit to. The first reason that I think that small steps are so powerful is that small steps get us started. I am a huge advocate of taking small steps because the truth is once you take a small step, you essentially build that inertia, that momentum that you need to keep the energy going. And that's what I love so much about small steps. I think about my journey to trying to learn yoga, right? Yoga to me was always something that felt too slow, felt too still. It didn't feel like a real workout. But I started to read up on the benefits of yoga. And so instead of trying to commit to doing yoga an hour a day, I started off with just 5 minutes after a heavy workout. And then that 5 minutes turned into 10 minutes, and then that 10 minutes turned into 15 minutes. And now I'm up to the point where I can sustain at least 20 to 30 minutes in a yoga video per day. Now, if I had tried to do that in the beginning, I never would have committed to it. But taking those small steps just gave me that initial momentum I need, that gave me that energy to essentially be able to get started. The second reason that I think that small steps are so powerful is because success breeds more success. So if you think about working out, for example, let's say that you want to lose 30 pounds. Are you going to lose 30 pounds overnight? Probably not. But when you lose that first 5 pounds, it gives you that momentum to see, okay, how can I now get to 10 pounds? How can I now get to 15 pounds? I remember starting my very first business and being like, oh my gosh, I got my first client, which means if one person said yes, that means another person possibly or potentially can say yes. So that level of success, that first experience and taste of success, gave me that deep desire and that drive to determine how I could continue to replicate more and more of that success. There's an old Chinese proverb that says, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step. So if you think about it, if you're waiting to define yourself as successful until you lose that 30 pounds or until you totally complete that book or until you walk that 1,000 miles, you could be waiting forever. But if you learn how to celebrate those small milestones on the way to the journey, you are inevitably going to be able to create more success with it. The next reason that I find small steps so extremely valuable is that small steps equal consistency. And we all know what they say about consistency. Consistency is key. And consistency just makes work easier. The truth is when you are consistent, you begin to build healthy habits. And when you build these healthy habits, because your brain likes to fall back on things that are familiar or relatable, you begin to become consistent, but with the things that actually help you to get to where it is that you want to be. Right now, you're committed to a bunch of tiny steps that feel kind of like meaningless. They don't feel like they matter, but the truth is they add up. So for example, you might be committed to watching one episode of your favorite show on Netflix every day. And what does 30 minutes or an hour mean? But by the end of the week, that's now 7 hours. By the end of the year, that's 365 hours, right? So those small steps actually add up, and they can either add up and work against you, or they can add up and work in your favor. And this is why when you create that consistency and you start to build that motivation and momentum muscle, you create success in the direction of your dreams. Finally, the last reason that I feel like small steps are so valuable is because small steps typically do not overwhelm you. And because they're not overwhelming, they're more likely to stick. If you think about your journey to trying to reach your big goal, that is going to feel overwhelming. But just like the saying goes, how do you eat an elephant? One single bite at a time. We don't overwhelm ourselves trying to swallow the entire elephant. We take it one small bite at a time. And that's the same way we should be approaching our goals. When you have small steps and you're less overwhelmed, you are more likely to be consistent and committed to those small steps. The truth is, the process of creating and committing to smaller steps is more attainable, less overwhelming, and easier to tackle. If you think about the old saying, like, how do you eat an elephant? Well, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. How do you approach your big goals? You approach your big goals one tiny step at a time. I share this with you today because I think it is so imperative that we do away with this hustle mentality. We do away with this idea that unless we can be an overnight success, that we might as well throw in the towel. The truth is, those small steps that we often overlook, that we often downplay, can create the massive quantum leap that you desire and deserve. So I want to challenge you today. What is one small step that you can commit to today in the direction of your goals that your future self will thank you for? Comment below and make sure you hit like and subscribe before you go. Have a beautiful day.